Well, today we're gonna plant some new bok choy after we pick some old bok choy that's flowered already. And then, if I can manage to, I'm gonna plant some beans. I got pole beans, bush beans, and long beans. I've just mixed them together so that planting goes a little quicker. Yesterday, all this bok choy really got beat up by the storm that we had, and I've got plants in between, so I'm not really hurting for something being planted here, but I've got some more heat tolerant bok choy that I can put in, and maybe these little miniature bok choy will do well. We'll see what happens. Part of the fun. Here, I didn't put any compost last year because I had a less hungry crop. But down this way, you can tell a huge difference between the ones that are getting nutrients from my compost from last year. And these little guys, the ones that haven't flowered, they won't be wasted because they're just little heads of broccoli pretty much. They're in the same family. And they taste just as good. Let's cut these down to make some room for some new plants. All I do is just cut right at the base. Some of these, they're so tiny, they're not really worth fooling with. And there's going to be a lot of waste here, so I think what I'll do is I'll pick what I want. Might leave a few for seed, and I'll come back after and cut the rest down. Even compared to the best of what was down in my compost free area, look at the difference between it and what I actually have compost for. The size difference and the color difference are just crazy. So much darker green on the stuff that had compost added in. It's just a sea of leaves compared to the other side. I couldn't help myself. I had to keep a few good plants that wanted to go to seed. These nice tall ones, I'll keep them. But all these little guys, they'll just get chopped down. They don't have much to them. These guys, they'll all add to the, there's a little collard there. They're good raw as little baby greens. But all of that, it'll add to the soil. Without all these shading out the what used to be competition and is now what's left, these should grow a lot better. I think this is kale. I could be wrong. Might be some kind of mustard greens or something. Let's see. It's not mustard. It's mild. I don't know if it's kale or not. We'll see when it gets big. I think that looks a lot better. And we got a bucket of bok choy and choy flowers that I can put into a stir fry. I would rather get some of these in the ground. So we'll set those seeds aside for now. Already cleared out this side up against the trellis for the pole beans and the long beans. And I think I'll knock this out because these onions are all going to seed. I waited too long to transplant them. But since they're bolting, I don't think that they'll make any bulbs. We could save them for green onions, or we could use all this space to plant some bush beans. So I believe that's what we'll do. And the idea is this whole arch trellis will be covered in beans. And we'll be able to walk through and pick some beans. That's what's up next. That's as weeded as I think it needs to be for planting beans. I've got a board down here because I buried some fish for tomatoes and peppers to see if that's worth all the effort. If it doesn't help anything and it takes that much work, well, I don't know that I'll do it. If compost is better than burying stuff 1.5 to 2 feet deep, well, I'd rather put down compost, honestly. As far as pole beans, we have Cherokee Trail of Tears, Blue Lake Stringless, and Kentucky Wonder. I've just mixed them all together in a baggie. I don't really care what variety is what. If it tastes good, I'll keep beans from it, and we'll have some for next year. And as far as the long beans, we have Taiwan Yard Long and Chinese Red Noodle. And same with them, they're just mixed together. You can tell the difference, but you can't tell what's what. But you certainly will be able to once they grow, because look at the difference. I find that one good shaka is about 8 inches for me. That's close enough for garden work. And so I'm just gonna put my finger about 1 inch down, drop a bean in, cover it up. Ooh. Who would have thought a nail would be sharp? That didn't feel good. Same thing here. Poke it down about 1 inch. And why not? We'll do 2 in each hole. Take 2 beans, poke a hole, drop them in, cover them up, and we'll do that all the way down. I'm just doing 2 random ones in each one. Now, I'm gonna give these guys some water since I've made it from one end to the other. And I'm gonna water them in pretty heavy. I want them to germinate as fast as they can. And they're not done germinating until they've absorbed all the water that they will. So, we're gonna saturate them. Our long beans both say 6-inch spacing. They're both 1/2 inch to 1 inch in depth. We'll grab them. A little sneaky grab. And we'll plant them a little closer together than the others. Same thing here. All that we're gonna do is poke a little hole down 1 inch or so. That's around 1 inch. Put 2 beans in. Cover the hole. The big rock there. We'll do a small shaka instead of a large one. And right about there will be our next hole. Drop 2 beans, cover them up, onward and upward. That's that. We'll give it the same treatment. Hit it with a mostly full can of water. All that's left now is bush beans, and if we get to it, bok choy. All that I have here for the bush beans, 2 types of contender and some kalima. I grew both of them last year, and I liked them both. I'm just gonna chop and drop all these guys. And if we end up with some little green onions coming back up, we just might eat some. But for the time being, I'm less worried about them, and I'm more worried about getting a good harvest of green beans over the summer. I'm not worried about perfection. I'm worried about getting some food in the ground. I'll mix these guys up. We'll do the same old with them as with the others. 2 per hole, and then we'll backfill. That wasn't that quick. We'll just scuff the dirt over these holes. Now I'm gonna pat it all down. And that's some beans planted. I'll get the same treatment. A nice heavy watering. All of this is thick with weeds. And the sun's getting a little bit low. But we'll see if we can at least get the more productive side weeded. You can kind of look at weeds as nature's fertilizer, because all they're doing is accumulating the nutrients that your plants could have had and then getting put back into the ground, as long as you're either composting or chop and dropping. Here's a stalk from last year's harvest, or the end of last year's season. All but the woodiest of it's already broken down. It's pulled well enough for my liking. I got a good pile of weeds and leaves that'll feed what's there. All I'm gonna do to plant this with bok choy is just run my hand through it. Here's another one of our bok choy munchers. Wonder if the chickens would have any interest in him. You look like you want it. Ah, didn't want it till the other girl did, huh? I'm gonna plant this pretty sparse. That's it for the day. Didn't do as much as I could have, but I did more than I had to, so that's a productive day in my book. Catch you in the next one.